What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Ai Weiwei's Turandot. Uh, so this is, um, I guess it's a documentary. First of all, I should say that it does not have audio description. So if you are someone who is looking for films with only audio description because you're blind and low vision, I'm sorry. It is multi-language, but I knew that going in, and I was waiting to see how it would be. Now, there are a couple times where someone speaks and it's not. I think they interviewed one person who was speaking in Italian. Um, but most of it, when they're talking, like the stuff that you would need to know is in English, and this other stuff you're not going to get translated anyway. They're not going to translate Puccini's Turandot. It's just that's how we consume opera. So it was never going to be translated for you anyway. There's not going to be audio description that translates to Nessun Dorma for you. Um, so I knew that, and because of it, that special sort of when I saw that it was English and Italian, I was like, but it doesn't say Mandarin. You know what I'm saying? So I'm assuming Ai Weiwei either knows Italian or he's speaking in English. So I figured I had a pretty safe bet at being able to watch this movie. So he is like an artist of renown, and also pushes back against the the regime in China, and has had some clashes and been, I guess, imprisoned for a time due to his political leanings. But he's offered an opportunity to direct this opera and stage it, and he stages it as sort of and tries to update it so that it mirrors our current structure. And it's a talk about that and the people who are involved with helping him put on this Italian opera, and that's kind of the journey. So you get a little bit about Ai Weiwei, and you get a little bit about the journey about putting on the opera, a little bit of the history about Puccini and the opera. Like if you don't know that Puccini died before he finished Turandot and it had to be completed by somebody else, maybe you will learn that here. So um, there's a lot of talk about how the source material is still relevant today, or how he can make it relevant today, and what the concept is, and stuff I picked up on that I didn't necessarily need audio description for. Obviously, the singers are beautiful, love their stuff. So, it, something you don't know about me is that I work in music. Uh, I know we're all supposed to like bring more of ourselves into our reviews, and that's what makes us different, and that's what gets us subscribers, is when people feel like they know more about us. But I also know I like stalkers. That's the thing about being blind, is like, I don't know if you're stalking me. Please don't. So yeah, I also work in music, and I work with a lot of classical musicians and opera singers, and I have a very interesting job. So my thing that pays me, I work with a lot of musicians. So I, even though opera is not my thing, it's sort of, I've osmosisly just uh, gotten a lot of it. And so when I mentioned that I was watching this thing, one of the things that I picked up on, I know they're not going to love this, and I'm so sorry, guys, because no one else is reviewing it was turned on YouTube. They should. We should have. But the thing is that the critics that are chasing like the likes and subscribes and are trying to, get those sweet deals, they know that I was Turandot is not going to bring them a million views. So it's just not. I don't mind it though. I mean, it's film, and that's what we're here to talk about. That's the real measure of a film critic, is, are you willing to actually talk about the films that aren't going to trend? Or are you only going to talk about the film that's number one at the box office? Some critics balance it a little bit, but most of the ones that are up at the top get there by just feeding like an algorithm. So uh, I I definitely mentioned that I was watching this, and nobody knew who I was, which is funny. But I mean, he does other kind of art, or conceptually, that Ai Weiwei had put on Turandot, And the thing that I kept hearing in the background was Nessun Dorma. Now, the target audience for this film is going to be people who know who Ai Weiwei is and want to see that film, but also opera fans who see the word turned out there and are interested in seeing a film about the production of this opera and the staging of it and how this director got there. And those people are not going to love hearing Nessun Dorma over and over because it is one of the most oversung arias in all of opera. So it's one of those things that you see constantly on America's Got Talent. It's done over and over. It's been done to death. There are other arias in this show, but I swear to God, I heard Nessun Dorma throughout like most of the thing. It's like it was always in the, like somebody was rehearsing Nessun Dorma like constantly in the background. There was, there were a couple like little bits and pieces of some of their orchestral arrangement, but there wasn't really a focus on like the totality of Turandot, and there wasn't really they they even give Nessun Dorma this big sort of like towards the end, this big moment where it's like you get to hear like most of the song, and I get it, it's a really famous piece, but who's your audience? Do you think your audience are people who are just walking in off the street and who know nothing about opera and they're just like, oh yeah, that song? I remember when that one girl sang it on America's Got Talent. That was lovely. Or do you think it's going to be the people who know what the opera is, the kind of people who have those meta opera subscriptions, even if they don't live in New York City and they go in to see the live broadcasts, right? Those people that show up for those overpriced like 30, I don't even know what they are now, at least $30 broadcasts. They used to be $30 when I worked in a movie theater. I'm sure with inflation and tariffs and stuff, they're probably like $400. But so yeah, that's your audience. The people who know opera, the people who are going to be interested in this kind of thing, I think are the people who are going to be interested and already sort of know a little bit about opera. I think those people are going to see Nessun Dorma as being a baity thing. It's sort of like if you make a documentary about a singer or any sort of musician, and you pick their great, like their one song, right? And you never do any of the other deep cuts. Uh, you make you make a John Lennon documentary, right? And then like in the background is like it's just Imagine, like over and over, or um, Leonard Cohen, and all it is like Hallelujah, and it's just like the one song, and it doesn't really satisfy Leonard Cohen fans, but people who really are like, oh yeah, that one song, and then nobody really asks themselves, aren't there other songs? Are there? Is there more? Why do we keep hearing Hallelujah? So for when you think about it that way, that's what it is that you have this musical work, right? And it is the focus. It's what Ai Weiwei is there to celebrate. But the director hasn't picked up on that. The director is focused a lot on Ai Weiwei, and I think is more a fan of Ai Weiwei than of the opera. And so for them, they're just playing the greatest hit. They're playing Nessun Dorma, but it would be like, going into any of these other artists and just picking one of their hits and playing it, and then trying to sell that and be like, oh guys, we've got a new um Whitney Houston thing, and it's just I Will Always Love You, and that's it. And Whitney fans are like, but she did other songs, or more musicals, right? So yeah, it's a documentary about Wicked, and all you hear is Defying Gravity, and people are like, okay, well, cool. I know we all love Defying Gravity, but there are other really good songs in this musical. Um, so yeah, I felt like that kind of tipped its hat to me as a little bit the direction that it was coming from in terms of the director of this and what the actual importance and focus of this was. It's just an Ai Weiwei documentary. It's not a Turandot documentary. It's called Ai Weiwei's Turandot, but this is not something that is going to please a lot of classical musicians. Do I think the documentary is fine? Absolutely. Like this is not a rotten or negative review of the thing, but it did kind of take it from being a thing that's usually about this like elevated medium and make me go, no, this is for the people who watch America's Got Talent. This is for the people who hear Nessun Dorma and they're like, that's the one aria I know. I know that. There's that and Ave Maria, right? That's those are the things that I know that are in Italian. That's the extent of my knowledge of. There's also that milk and cookies. I know that one too. So, I know it's not. It's maybe not the review you were hoping for, but it's the real review that you're gonna get from somebody who might stumble into this thinking, "Oh, cool, something about Turandot." I think they would also be maybe a little cautious about the runtime because it is only like an hour and 17 minutes, and obviously the opera is way longer. But it's and then you're trying to fit in the story by Weiwei in addition to. So it's yeah, it's just an Ai Weiwei documentary. So I did learn some stuff about Ai Weiwei and his pushing back against the cultural medium and how he approaches things as an artist. But this could have been Ai Weiwei's anything. Like there was nothing about this that felt like it was Turandot at all. He talked a little bit about Puccini, but not in depth. We didn't have a whole section about the history of Giacomo Puccini. So it just wasn't really. I felt like there's more that could have been had here. If you really want to push it, if you really want that excellence, if you really want to be embraced by the community of the second half of your title, then you have to go for that as well. It can't just be. It can't just feel like you learned a lot about Ai Weiwei but nothing about the other thing, or very little about the other thing, or you don't really care that your audience knows only surface level stuff, because that's really what this is it ends up being kind of surface level about Turandot. So it didn't go bad for me though. There's something here that's like, oh god, don't watch this. But this is one of those like kind of like one of the lowest scores I've given a documentary this year, just because I feel like, yeah, there's definitely room for growth. I would have had notes. Like if this had been given to me before release and they were like, what did you think about this? I'd be like, you have time. And this is not like a long documentary where it just feels like somebody's going to hit you for pacing. It's like, oh god, this documentary is too long. It's like, this is a really short documentary. You can at least put 15 more minutes into this thing and try to explain more about Puccini, more about the history of the opera, maybe another song from the opera. Maybe focus on, I don't know, one of the female arias in the show and have that play out for as long as Nessun Dorma does. So, but give us like a Cliff Notes version of start to finish of, oh, this is Act 1, and we see a little clip of it. You know, sometimes they have that. They'll do that. It was a little brief, almost like a preview of a movie, right? So you're seeing sort of like from start to finish. You can do more of that. I mean, there's so many little things here that we could do, but I feel like it was a lot of Nessun Dorma. I feel like that's a really bitchy thing and small thing to say, but I think for your audience, it's kind of a big thing. I feel like for the people who are most likely to show up to this thing, I think that's kind of a big thing. And I think it's going to make it not resonate the way that you think it will for that target demo. I could be wrong, but even when I mentioned like conceptually this documentary to people, they were like, oh god. So I think the classical singers, opera singers, and the purists and everything are a little tired of hearing Nessun Dorma all the time, especially for people who love this opera and want other songs celebrated from it. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give it a 6.8 out of 10. Like I said, I'm not negative. I'm not rotten. This is not a rotten documentary. This is not. But did I kind of giggle a little bit? Did I kind of think like, oh god, it's more Nessun? No, it's Nessun. Oh, we're getting the whole thing. Yeah, I did. Of course it is. Um, and I kind of wonder in many ways if we didn't choose Turandot because of the aria, because there's so many operas and so many arias, and it's like how many of them could have fit into Ai Weiwei's creative space But if he doesn't know too much about opera, he's heard Nessun Dorma before, you know? So he's like, well, what about that one? Where's the one with the da, 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 da? Yeah, where's that one? Oh, that's okay, I'll do that one. So, um, yes. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.